I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, the creator and co-host of the Stack and Benjamin Show. And today we're going to be talking about the best tax software for you for 2024. I feel very lucky to call this guy a friend. He is Mr. thecollegeinvestor.com. Say hello to Mr. Robert Farrington. Well, let's talk about something that's not frustrating. Well, yes, no, I take that back.
These are totally frustrating.
It is frustrating, but tax software makes it easier. Did you guys see, before we get to your rankings and your awards, did you guys see any significant improvements in any of the platforms or what's available widely to the consumer this year versus last year?
You know, TaxSlayer continues to just deliver and improve their platform, and they are nipping at the heels of everybody. There's definitely more disappointment this year, I'd say, than improvement.
Oh,
there's still some things, and we're gonna dive into it. We're gonna go do it.
Well, that's funny. When you say more disappointments, it makes me feel like, as a guy who's played some video games, like I like sports games, and it sounds like what we had this year was the same thing EA Sports does with Madden, where they just slap a new coat of paint on it and give me the same crap, but call it next year's thing. Is that what you're kind of referring to?
It is, and there's actually been some places have kind of disappeared. So
really,
eSmart Tax is now gone. It is merged into Liberty Tax, and so for those of you that don't know, one of the big players in the space is Drake Financial Software. They've been doing is then buying all these small firms and powering their back ends for years. So if you logged into tax software, you'd see that like 7 of them are all exactly the same with just a different coat of paint on it. And this year, I think they finally realized that this wasn't such a great idea. And now they've been merging them all back in together and just saying like, hey, we have one. So
just flooding the market with, oh boy, what a nightmare. Well, let's unveil. We got, by the way, everybody, lots of different things to unveil. If you think there's just one tax software that might be best for everybody, you're sadly mistaken, because Robert and his team have put together a list that's what's best for different people. But let's start with overall. Best overall.
Let's start with why, though. I want to say like why there's no one size fits all. And this is the hardest one, especially with the overall. It's because we all have different tax software needs. Like, I wish we could all use free tax software. But the fact is, if you're an investor, if you have rental properties, if you are a side hustler and you like to sell stuff on eBay or you drive rideshare, you're going to need different things on your tax return. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is like, why are taxes so complicated? It's like, because we all have like 10 different income streams, whether we realize it or not. Maybe we all took advantage of like the high yield savings this last year, right? So you're going to get that cool little 1099 interest form. Well, guess what? That might kick you into another tax software and not let you qualify for free. And honestly, the IRS is like, trying to build this new IRS direct file, right? So, of course, we had to try it out. It's piloted in 12 states, and I'm in California. So, hello, they piloted it here.
All right.
And it's not worth it.
Come on.
It is. It's probably the worst of the worst for tax software. And the reason is unless you have a W-2 income job and like nothing else, like literally nothing else, you can't use it. And then even then, they don't do state returns, right? So they kick you out of the program at the end and they make you go file it at a maybe even worse state tax software program. So, there's these free file options out there, but they just, they don't make the cut for, sadly, most people. And I don't know if you've seen any commercials yet this year, but if you see a TurboTax one, every single commercial says free file available for 37% of taxpayers. And it's on every commercial. And now that you've heard me say it, you're going to recognize it, because that's the truth. The truth is that 37% of all taxpayers qualify for free file. And if you're 2/3 of taxpayers, guess what? You're going to pay to file your taxes. There's no way around it at this point in America.
Well, with the direct file, you lost me at going separately to a whole different system with the states, because I've tried I've tried. Yeah, even if the federal one's good, the fact that I'd have to go then directly to the state stuff is often so clunky. That's tough.
Totally. And then for all the tax longs, it's like, that like some states count things that the federal government does or doesn't. And it's like, come on, like, it's just, they add to the layers of confusion.
All right. So The overall, guys, is going to fit almost nobody, but let's start there. Just overall, best product. What is it?
This was a source of contention with our team, and I think you know a lot of our team, but we are still putting, as much as it like literally pains me to say it, but God, it's still a really good product. It's TurboTax. It's like a bittersweet one. They are the easiest to use product, hands down. It's not even like a question that they have the best, easiest to use tax filing software out there.
Why do you get consternation then? It sounds like, hey, if it's the best, then it's the best. That's great. Why not want it?
They also are the best, highest price.
Oh, well, but if you get what you pay for, maybe
you do get what you pay for. But what's even more frustrating this year, which honestly, I will say everyone here, I was one of the votes on our team to like, no, we're kicking them out because of this, is they have moved to a non-transparent pricing structure as if they weren't not transparent enough. So this year, if you go to the TurboTax website, it's a rage. They cannot tell you before you start what you will pay, and they refuse to.
Oh, man.
I know. And so they'll say it's $0 to $89. And you don't know what that means. And they don't make it easy. And honestly, we ran mock returns, and like I couldn't necessarily even figure out the pricing just doing the return. Granted, you know you're going to pay your upper limit of $89
sure,
or whatever it is, which is high, but you don't know before you jump in. And it's like, oh, those things really just irk me as a personal finance guy.
Well, yeah, anything where you got to wait till the end. And then you've got all this time invested in it. And so what are you going to do? You're going to back out and go to the competitor then after you've already done it? You're like, oh, no.
No, and they know it. And that's how it just drives me nuts. So that's honestly, I think I shared this with you. We've been doing this for almost 10 years now. And the reason we started even doing this is because I fell for that trap. You got to start for free. And then when you go to file, no, you're in the deluxe. You got to pay $50 to file your taxes. And I'm like, I just invested like 3 hours of my Saturday afternoon. So frustrating.
The good news is, though, you guys have a runner-up in all these different categories. And there is a runner-up in best overall, too.
Yep. H&R Block is definitely our runner-up. They are really solid, much better competitively priced. They offer a more robust free tier. Now, granted, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to qualify, but a more robust free tier. And they're going to beat them on price about $10 every single level. That difference is that TurboTax has all these slick integrations. So you can just like connect your payroll provider. You can hook up your Fidelity account and they'll just bring it all in. H&R Block doesn't have all that. Now, granted, maybe you don't need it. Maybe you have a pretty simple tax return, but that's what makes them the runner-up. They're a fantastic product too. And I would still throw out some other ones and we'll talk about them, but Free Tax USA is solid. TaxSlayer is solid. They're just so good, but they don't fit everyone's situation perfectly. And that's why we have this giant list we're going to go through.
Well, in just a second, we'll dive into those. Before we get to that though, H&R Block, as I skimmed ahead, H&R Block shows up on a lot of these. Like it must be just, half the thing is it must be just well-rounded. Like H&R Block really has their act together.
They absolutely have their act together. And what's great about it is, they get into the process and they make it easy to switch and get help, which is one of my favorite features. Because let's just say you're diving in and all of a sudden you get like a K1 and like you don't know what to do with it. Well, they can have a phone assist. They have live assist. You could go to an office, which they're the only ones on this list for the most part that you can go to a real person tax preparer in person if you need to. And I know that there are really still a lot of people that value that.
Are there any ways to port previous last year data when changing platforms? So let's say that they were on TurboTax and they want to go to TaxSlayer, to H&R Block, or one of the other ones that you have here. How easy is that move?
Almost all of them will allow you to import your one prior year tax return, which for the most part is what you need. But the thing is how you need to do it is you actually upload the PDF of your tax return. You don't need to connect all the data and do all these things. So one thing I recommend, no matter what tax software you use, is always make sure you save a PDF copy of yourself so you don't have to like log into their systems if you forget that login. But what that also lets you do is you take that PDF and then you can upload it to any of the other ones. However, I will tell you that you're still going to have to re-enter some of that data. Even with like the best import systems, they still mess it up. So you're going to double check it. You're going to make sure. The only thing you're really saving truly with staying with a single platform is like avoiding entering your name and like social security number again. A lot of the carry forward features really don't help you that much. So you're thinking like, hey, ready to try something new, get the PDF out of the old system, upload it, and you can start
Just
from there.
go. Let's go into the niches, and some of these are niche, some are not. You talked about how a third of us are eligible for free software. The government one's probably not the one to use. What is the one to use?
Cash App Taxes is the software to use. So this was Credit Karma Tax 3 or 4 years ago, and Cash App purchased them from Intuit. Which, man, we've been talking about Intuit a lot lately. But anyway, so this one's out of Intuit, not into Intuit. And Cash App Taxes is out of Intuit, and it's actually been really a great tool for most people that have free taxes. However, there's some limits. The limits are you can't file in 2 states, right? So that could be a problem, especially for all you New York and New Jersey folks. You know, you live in one side, you work in the other side, mix and match. So like it doesn't work. Well, you need 2 state tax returns.
Well,
but that's the drawback. I'll say that's the drawback. I'll also say the other thing with Cash App Taxes is, you know, it is a little tech savvy. You got to get Cash App. You got to do this thing. They made the web interface better, but I can't tell you how many folks are like, what's Cash App? Like, why am I doing this? So I think that's also another thing. It's a great tool. Your information's perfectly safe, all that good stuff. But you know, you're getting into the new tech.
That's the first thing that I thought too was Cash App. Just not a name that makes me think longevity. Been around. Like I think about tax preparation. The name kind of gets me. But the number 2 name on here, H&R Block, back again. But this is H&R Block free. So rather than reiterate just how broadly H&R Block's going to show up on all your lists, I want to ask this. Let's say that I get into it and I find out that I'm available to do free. You know, there was a problem with that a few years ago, Robert, as you know, where a lot of people were, you know, companies were like, oh yeah, you can do free. Yeah. And then they charge you. Do they identify, you get partway through, or are they like, hey, this is going to be free?
They don't ever identify that direction, but you always start for free with all these companies. And so you can go there and they'll tell you if you're going to add something that gets you to deluxe. The thing we like about H&R Block free though, is that you're going to start adding things. You're going to put your student loan interest credit down. You're going to start seeing if you qualify for the earned income tax credit, and it doesn't bump you up. So, you know, you could end up getting bumped up. Maybe you trade some stocks or did different things. But for a lot of people, you start for free. You might find that you also end for free with H&R Block because they have one of the robustest free tiers of like the premium providers.
All right. For if we want to maximize credits and deductions, if we actually are some of those few people that still get itemized deductions.
Yeah, we used to call this itemizing your tax return, but now like I would only say 10% of Americans itemize now with the super high standard deduction. So if you do itemize though, TurboTax again makes it the easiest to figure out what you need to do. And the reason I say this is because a lot of people don't know what qualifies for itemized deductions. Like how much mortgage interest can I have? Like how much all this stuff and property taxes, charitable contributions, whatnot. TurboTax in their question and answer makes it super easy to figure out what it is. And this is usually the deluxe tier, but let's be frank, if you're itemizing these days, you probably have a lot of other things like investments, real estate, different things like that. But this TurboTax does make it very easy if you think you're going to itemize your taxes.
People can go to your site and they can take a look at what the runner-ups are. But let's go to the best tax software for student loan borrowers.
Let's do it. So this year, student loan borrowers actually might get their student loan interest deduction. You know, payments resumed in September for some borrowers. Some people are still getting, you know, deferred into the sunset here because they can't get their act together. But if you paid over $500 in student loan interest, you can get your student loan interest deduction. And that might be you this year. And what usually happens with the student loan interest deduction is it's one of those sneaky ones that kicks you up to the deluxe tier or higher. Well, TaxSlayer is our number one choice if that's you. And the reason we say that is because TaxSlayer is gorgeous in the fact that they charge $37 and you get access to everything. Like it's just like as simple as that. You get a flat fee, $37. It's their classic tier. all the forms. So it's a really great price for a really, it's getting really close to TurboTax and H&R Block on their user interface.
I love the flat pricing. Just anything. If I walk in and I know what I'm going to pay ahead of time, that does it for me.
Right. It's everything. It includes every single form. So there's no sneak it in. You're I got paid $605 interest. You're not getting kicked up to another tier. You just know what you're doing. You know what you're getting.
If we trade cryptocurrency, how long have you guys been tracking cryptocurrency traders?
We've been talking about this since 2016. So we've ridden a couple waves at this point. Now crypto's back in vogue. We're doing it.
I know. Now that people are making money again, the crypto bros are coming back.
Yeah, it's it. And the new Bitcoin ETFs and the whole jazz, right? It's a thing again.
Don't get me started on the Bitcoin ETF. Who's best for cryptocurrency?
TurboTax Premier, which is their investor version. So TurboTax is great for crypto, but specifically if you use Coinbase, because TurboTax integrates, right? So they have a great integration with Coinbase. They'll import all that. Which allows you to track your transactions. But here's the big but. If you love to have your self-custody wallets or you use a different exchange than Coinbase, you're going to probably want to use a tool, and we'll talk about some tools next, but then TaxAct is going to be your friend. And we don't talk about TaxAct much, but they have a really great feature that allows you to import the 8949, which is this tax form that lists all your transactions, and they'll aggregate all that up for you. So TurboTax if you use Coinbase, TaxAct if you do not use Coinbase.
Let's talk about it because it is it's a pain in the ass, and I get frustrated because the IRS has said that your crypto, which we could use to buy pizza if we really wanted to, if we actually use this money as money instead of an investment, we still get a capital gains tax. So we've got to know our in and our out point. What tool do you use to do that?
So our favorite tool this year is Coinly. So first off, like you said, you have to keep track of your own thing, which is just mind-boggling in this day and age. But you got to track when you bought it, what price you bought it at, when you sold it, what price you sold it at. You got to convert all that to dollars. And then if you do simple transactions, let's just say you have Bitcoin and you wanted to buy ETH, you could have 3 transactions in that whole swapperoo. And so Coinly tracks all this for you. You link up your account or you put your Bitcoin or your Ether address, and it'll pull all the transactions in there for you, and it'll give you a nice 8949. But that's only part one, because then you got to take that to the tax act of the world or your tax preparer to actually file your taxes. So if you're in crypto, you're going to have to pay for 2 tax software programs this year to get your stuff done.
Let's talk about, a lot of our fans here, a lot of our stackers are in the market investing. Somebody needs to fill out a big, long schedule of gains and losses. Who's best there?
We switched this one this year. So H&R Block is what we're putting as our top pick. And H&R Block significantly improved their imports this year. So let's say you get that 1099B from Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard. They don't connect, but you can upload that PDF and it'll populate a lot of that.
Fabulous.
So, and it's a little cheaper than TurboTax. So we love that, right? And so that's why H&R Block is our top pick. They make it really easy for stock market investors. They'll import that 1099B, but again, you have to have that PDF, and they import the PDF that way. Our runner-up is the TurboTax, because TurboTax takes it one step further where you don't have to do that. You just enter your login almost like you're connecting with Plaid, and they pull the data that way. Little easier, but you're going to pay a little more for that.
So you really cut into it here in this category on the fee.
Yeah, the fees are what did it. Honestly, we can upload a 1099B. I don't think that's too much of a hardship. I can do it. I don't know.
We have a sister show that showed up last year, Stacking Deeds, my good friend Crystal Hammond. So let's talk about for landlords. If somebody owns properties, you're going to go a different way.
The TaxSlayer for exactly what we talked about. So TaxSlayer for $37, you get all the forms, you get the depreciation schedules, you get all that nice stuff. And so if you're going to go with like a TurboTax or an H&R Block at this tier, you will pay $100. or more. And TaxSlayer cuts that down to $37. Now, however, a landlord, maybe you want to seek professional help, you might want to. You can pay a little more though for TaxSlayer, and even their professional help tier, which is like is still at like $47. You can pay like $10 more to get that assistance, because if you have questions on like what's bonus depreciation, what counts, there's still a very good price for that kind of assistance.
But I love your take here, which is if you own a few properties, might be time to have a better tech strategy than just some online person who you're meeting for the first time.
It might be, but I also know quite a few landlords that will never. So,
and that's why I lost my hair, because people like that, I'm like, really? Surround yourself with good people. For people that have a side hustle, they're working a side hustle, where do you go?
Cash App Taxes. Cash App Taxes is free. And it's free for small business stuff. Like that doesn't cost you anything more to report that side hustle income and make that, Schedule C income on there, which is phenomenal, because if you're out there side hustling and doing it, like you're trying to make money, you don't need to be spending a lot of extra money to get your taxes done.
They bought the software from Intuit.
When Intuit bought Credit Karma, the FTC said, that's cool, but you're not allowed to have both TurboTax and Credit Karma tax. So you got to ditch one. And so they spun that one off when they acquired Credit Karma, because that was the only way it was going to make it happen. And so Cash App was like, that sounds great. We'll buy it. And honestly, they've done a phenomenal job of both running the product and improving it over the last couple of years.
The number 2 name when it comes to side hustles, your runner-up is TaxSlayer. We haven't talked a lot about TaxSlayer. We talked a little bit. They're definitely making appearances here. When somebody, their side hustle then transforms into a small business, this sounds like this is where TaxSlayer really comes alive.
Yeah, you got it. So one, TaxSlayer is our runner-up for side hustlers, because you do just pay that flat fee. I was wrong. I said $37. $34.95 is what you pay. They lowered it, actually. I think it was $37 last year. It's even $2 cheaper this year. But you pay a flat fee and you get access to all the forms you need, which is phenomenal. But let's just say that side hustle has now grown into a full hustle, and it's like your full gig, you're still only paying $34.95. So like it's just going to grow with you. But the cool thing is they do have a self-employed assistance program at TaxSlayer, which is the only one that really does have dedicated self-employed. Granted, they all have helplines. They will all help you, but these guys, all they see every day is these side hustle self-employment questions, and you're only paying $64.95. So for $30, you can get access to a pro that totally understands your side hustle, your full-time business, that kind of thing.
If you need heart surgery, don't go to a general practitioner.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Best value you've got for experienced filers. Why talking about, is this somebody who might as well do it on paper?
Yeah, I mean, if you know what you're doing, you don't need the guided assistance. Like, you know where you want to put your 1099 fee. Like me saying 8949 doesn't freak you out. You know where your HSA is going on, what, 8889. I don't know. There's all these forms out there. You know where your stuff is going, and you don't necessarily need the hand holding. Because let's be honest, guys, every single piece of tax software should give you the same answer. Whether a CPA does it, TurboTax does it, or you do it on paper, your actual refund or what you owe should be identical no matter what way you prepare it. It's just math. Where people make the mistake is that they don't know where to put things, they don't know what they should claim, and they just don't know how it works. And so when you have things like a fancy piece of tax software, all it's doing is asking you a bunch of questions to make sure it covers all the bases and that you can figure out where to put things on your tax return. But if you just know this is your thing, you're feeling it, you've done it for 10 years, you don't necessarily need so much hand-holding. And as a result, you can get a lot of value because there's some great pieces of tax software out there that, they don't cost much, but they definitely don't have the hand-holding.
Let's go the opposite way. If you need additional support, and talk about not know the boxes, you really want somebody to hold your hand. You guys looked at that too.
Yeah. So our best for support is Free Tax USA. I just love Free Tax USA. And first off, we don't give them enough love because I will say our metric for rating tax software is we always look at the combined price of federal, and state. And granted, I'm in California, so I have a state tax return, but I know someone on this show is from Texas.
Texas, yeah.
Don't. So Free Tax USA is a phenomenal piece of software, and their price literally is free, but only free federal return. And so that's where Cash App just beats them a little bit on most things because they're free federal and state. Free Tax USA does charge $14.99 per state, and they do allow multiple states if that's you. But I love their software, and their support level is phenomenal because for $39.99, you can have full access to Tax Pro, which is one of the cheapest prices you will find for access to tax support online.
That's fabulous. I'm going to skip your last category because your last category on here is if you need if you want a loan against your refund. And I want to encourage people not to do that.
I also want to encourage people not to do that, but I've also learned that I'm not your mom. If you're going to do it against my demand that you don't do it, we do have an option for you. Please be very careful doing those. It's not worth it.
Yes.
But I'm not your mom, but please listen to me.
I'm going to make people go to the College Investor to get that one. We're not going to say that one today.
That's fine. I will also say for everyone listening, if you start today, it's the cheapest prices you're going to pay for all these all season. All these companies will raise their taxes or prices in March, and then they'll raise them in probably April.
Wow.
Every year. And they might not do it on their main one, but maybe the state will go up $5 or something too. So the earlier you start doing your taxes, the lower prices you can lock in on your taxes.
Robert, thank Eric for us, Eric Rosenberg, our mutual friend who wrote this piece this year, and the whole team. A great job as usual.
Thank you. A lot of fun. We check this out, and hopefully people can avoid that trap of where you're starting and then you get a little bait and switch. And all of a sudden you're paying $120 and you're like, I thought I was paying free.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today. Make sure that you go follow the College Investor for more great stuff like this on their Instagram page. And make sure you check out this piece, which you'll find at thecollegeinvestor.com. I got to believe this is on the front page right now.
It's on the homepage right there. So.
Yeah. Just go to thecollegeinvestor.com. And then also, if you want to follow more people nearly as brilliant as Robert, stick with us. Just hit the follow if you're not following us so that you're notified next time that we're on. All right. Robert, great seeing you, man.
Thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Good seeing all you guys, stackers. See you later. Bye-bye.